1080.
Oh, we live. We live.
Peace to the family. Peace to the
Peace,
family. Good
peace,
morning.
peace, peace and blessings, peace and power. How's
You
everyone doing? We pray that this Sunday morning finds you in good spirit, good health, and also good wealth, wealth of spirit, wealth of resources, abundance of energy, abundance of love, peace and power in your life. We're definitely happy for this opportunity once again to come before y'all, man. How you feeling, Jabari?
man, spirit is strong, definitely strong. You know, just gotta gotta keep pushing. Even sometimes when you think you don't feel like it, the mission is more important. You gotta step up and and build the spirit up. So so the spirit is strong, definitely strong.
Can't
It's
stop,
got to
won't
be,
stop.
got to be. How was your week? How was your week?
My week was good. You know, it's productive, peaceful, healing. You know, always striving to continue to elevate, always learning. I'm always a student of self, a student of the Most High within, student of the universe, a student of life. So I'm always working to improve myself. I'm always, trying to be as aware as I can of, the way that I affect others. You know, yeah, yeah. So I'm always doing an assessment, not a harsh judgment, but a compassionate assessment of myself. Because if I judge myself harshly, we tend to do to others what we do to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I might end up, judging other people harshly, and that's unwarranted. We all in this life on this planet, sojourning, trying to experience life the best we can, trying to learn our lessons and be as healthy and happy as we can. So, we all doing our best.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, we just wait for a few more people to come in. Just shooting it around right quick before we get into it. So, I will say this though, y'all be ready for next week, first Sunday. The first Sunday, I want y'all to be ready, and it's gonna be on and popping. It's gonna be on and popping at the temple. So come on out, bring your children. Come on out and just be willing to vibe with us, and it's all good. It's all a positive thing. Like I said, we started this because we realized that we all needed elevation. And a lot of us been doing a lot of work in the community. So we just hope you come out and vibe with us. And we all need, like I said, we all need the elevation. We all need the inspiration because life,
Right.
as people say, life be lifing, and
Mm-hmm.
you gotta be ready to, as you take those hits, you gotta be ready to jump back up. As you take those hits, you can't just fall down and just lay down and just give up. So we gotta constantly keep elevating at all times.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Okay. Got
Oh, there's Kendall.
in the building.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. This is a wonderful day. The sun is shining. And for all of my my astrology folks, we are still in the full moon in Virgo energy, which is calling forth us to, we want perfection. And to ask for and to ask for perfection is a hard task because it begins with ourselves. So as we are looking to appreciate who we are in our most perfect state, we must understand what is authentic. And when we look to others to be perfect, the perfecting is the order of the day. Perfecting who you are and the way that you interact and you manage your energy as well as your energy towards others. Virgo is about things being in order and symmetry. And so, as we are closing out this month of beauty, I think it is
Hey,
very.
pardon. We gotta
Oh,
start the show.
Yeah,
We gotta
yeah, yeah.
start the
oh,
program.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I
I
was,
You
was
did,
in flow.
yeah,
I
I was
just
thinking
wanted
the
to
same.
you
share
was
that.
going in.
I
I'm
was thinking
sorry.
the same thing. I was thinking
My
the same thing.
bad. My bad.
All right,
Okay.
all right. Let's start the flow. Let's start the flow.
Yes.
All
So,
right. That's more like it. More like it.
um,
My apologies, guys. I'm feeling the energy, so I kind of moved too
well,
fast.
before we go any further, we come
Hmm.
before you in the mind state of elevation, standing on a strong legacy of spiritual masters, healers, and powerful prayer warriors. We acknowledge our connection to Source and our honored and elevated ancestors. We are humble servants of the community. May we be properly guided with every word that we speak. Ashe.
I'll say an
Ashe,
amen.
Ashe. I say this. We are streaming live on many different platforms right now. We are on Instagram. We on YouTube. Y'all help us get to for Reality Speaks Media. Help us get to 8,000 hits, like 8,000 viewers, subscribers. So help us get to 8,000 subscribers today. We ain't too far away from that. We've been working hard for that. So it ain't a whole lot, but we almost at 8,000. So y'all continue to subscribe. We've been getting a lot of people subscribing lately to the channel. Tell your friends. Go to the YouTube page, subscribe, like, comment. Please comment, because when you do comment and like, the algorithm, what I mean, it helps us with more people being able to see it. So
Hmm.
everything that you're able to do, and every click that you make is great for us, and to help us to keep building the platform and what we building. So yeah, so the uh I was gonna do some rhyming. I was about to do some rhyming, like brother Darren. We go tell your kitten Ken, and Darren got balls for days, man. You know what I mean? He got, yeah, he got balls for days. He hit about 9 of them in a row on you too.
Yeah, shout
Hmm.
out to our good brother Darren Muhammad.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But so tell the folks, man. That's how we gonna build. You know, with what we've been doing, as even with brother Simbi, myself, and Kenda, it'll be 29 years this year that we've been in this community, and we've been trying to do our part in this community, whether it's spiritual, whether it's in the physical, what I mean, or whether it's in the mental, wherever we got study groups going on. We've been trying to help the community, and now this temple, Maya Temple Elevation, is more on the spiritual side of things, to help our people. I'll be 49 this year, so coming up, cracking a half a century. So we here on a mission. We here on a mission, and that mission don't stop. And like I
Right.
said before, rather you wake up and you don't feel like it, or you wake up and you know got things going on, you still got to get that energy up, and you still got to do what you need to do. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
I understand that, and I can appreciate that. You are correct, but also we have to understand when we know how to pause too, because that can create stress in the body, anger, and your body can break down. So yes, we have to show up. We have to make sure that we show up in our full energy and in our full heart. And sometimes we have to learn balance. Yeah, just I
no,
just
I,
wanted to add that.
I definitely agree with the balance. I'm just saying, but you got something planned, and when it's showtime, it's showtime. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you definitely got to take breaks. you know what I mean, behind the scene. But it's like it's a lot of them like singers and all. You know what I mean? We talk about what I mean before they got to go out and do performances, and sometimes they be going through stuff. But when you got a sold out arena that's out there, you know what I mean. You got to go out there. You got to go out there and you got to put on unless something's going on extremely to the point where you just physically can't get out there or something's going on. So I'm just saying, no, I hear what you're saying. You
Mm-hmm.
definitely gotta take those breaks and behind the scene work on yourself and get yourself together. But yeah, I feel it. No, I feel what you're saying.
So
Okay.
I just posted in the chat. Well, it's not letting me do it. I don't know what's up.
What you trying
But
In
to
the
do?
chat.
I'm
Where are
trying to
you trying
post
to
something in
chat?
the chat. I was trying to post the link to TNAT, the website. Just wanted to give special shout out to brother Osar Jr., brother Osar Winkler Jr. and Senior, and the entire Winkler family over at TNAT, Temple of New African Thought Holistic Wellness Center. That's where we will be next Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
March 3rd at 10 a.m.
Yeah,
Come on out and join us. Get some spiritual edification. You can also find some wonderful health products, some good food, some great food, and some great information to feed the mind. So come on out and visit TNAT, the Temple of New African Thought Holistic Wellness Center, and visit their website. I tried to post it. If someone else can post it, for some reason,
Yeah, send it to me. Just send it to me in the other chat, and maybe
I just sent it in the private
oh,
chat. It might
oh,
be in the public.
oh, okay. Yeah. It's because I don't know. I want to
Yeah,
know. I see some people are watching us. Where are you joining us from? Please share. What city and state are you joining us from? Are you home? You in the gym? You on your way to doing something awesome? Oh
yeah.
shoot! I sent it back to the chat.
And tell us how you feeling this morning. We say often how the Africans feel when you say the spirit is strong, definitely strong. So let us know how you feeling this morning. It's a great morning. So let us know what's up.
yes. Shout to Juan Nance from Baltimore, and
Hello,
Oh,
Juan.
brother
peace and health
Nance,
to
brother
you.
Nance, yeah. The brother's always doing great work, always doing great work in the community. Appreciate that, good brother. How you feeling, man? Definite.
So
So, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, I was about to introduce today's topic of discussion: healthy relationships plus healthy communities equals a healthy nation. And go ahead. You was going to say something?
No, I was going to ask, did we do a prayer?
Oh, that was my version of the prayer when I said we come before you with the mindset of elevation. But
Oh,
go ahead,
okay.
take it away. You can say another prayer.
No, no, no,
Feel
that's fine.
you want
Well,
to
I
feel
just
complete.
okay. All right. I wasn't sure. My apologies, but I just wanted us to come together and connect with the universal soul, to the divinity that is around us and in us, which goes by many names. Some call this energy Father God, Mother, the Holy Trinity, Allah. All of these names encompass your beautiful, powerful being, because the breath of life that came from the divine is operating and flowing through you. So as we open up this conversation, let your ears hear with the heart and comprehend with the spirit, with acceptance of the mind. And we give honor and glory to the ancestors that are amongst us as well. Ashe and Amen.
Yeah.
Ashe.
And amen. Yes. And let us also continue with our mission statement so everyone is reminded, or if it's the first time being with us, what we're all about: to build and maintain a strong family and community support structure that fosters spiritual elevation, optimal living, healthy relationships, empowerment, and respect among the Black African American and Black people worldwide. Inspire, to inspire, uplift, and energize the spirit of the people to face life with enthusiasm, vigor, and gratitude. So that's why we're here. And today's topic is going to cover the subject of healthy relationships. Okay, because
Right, right.
you know it is my perception, and I'm just speak for my perception. Everyone else can speak for themselves. I don't believe we can have a healthy community, or and then eventually build a healthy nation without healthy individuals, holistic mind, body, spirit, and social, and these individuals having healthy relationships between one another. Now, let me be clear. I am not primarily speaking of romantic type relationships. I know when people hear the word relationship, they just think male female relationships, your significant other. Although that is included, that is not the extent of the relationships that I'm talking about. I'm talking about how we interact and connect socially, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and communicatively as people. That if we don't function in our relating to one another in healthy ways, how can we expect to build healthy communities? How can we expect to build and have a healthy nation? So that's the
Yeah,
purpose of the discussion.
yeah. Great discussion, and really, I know this kind of comes off of, I mean, a post that you had made the other day, that was kind of on fire. I mean, from the post, and and folks kind of went back and forth about this topic. It was a great discussion there that was had that day. But yeah, it was a lot. You know what I mean? And I think some of the people, and I don't know, and I don't know what the whole thing was. I mean, what I know what you were stating, pretty much what you saying right now, and other people were saying that what was the premise of a lot of what other people were saying, that we need to build anyway, regardless of the relationships. I mean, was that what the whole thing was?
Well, I mean, I don't have the actual post in front of me, but yeah, some people were saying that start we need to start building the nation now, and basically saying that you know what, I can't even say that they were saying that we shouldn't have healthy relationships first, but they saying that we can't wait for everyone to be healthy, and I have to clarify that I never said everyone. I said when those who we are building a nation with, that's what I mean. If, in case that's misunderstood, those who are involved in nation building or community building, who we want to have community with, we need to have healthy relationships with them. And so some people agree, many people agree. I think most people agree. Some people disagree. But I mean, unless someone wants to come on and talk about their their opinion, if it's a different opinion or whatever, or even if it's the same opinion. Other than that, I'm not going to really discuss what other people said, but I want to discuss, what is meant by toxic relationships and what's meant by healthy relationships. You
Right,
know, but if anyone wants to come on, let us know. We can have this discussion, as a community.
right.
You know, but I don't feel that if and if we aren't healed, if we don't put a priority on healing our relationships, then we can't expect to magically become healthy if we get some land and start building on it together. Now, I'm not saying we don't take initiatives and start doing these type of projects, as some of these projects are going on, but prioritize healthy relationships as a top priority. That don't mean you got to stop your building process, but you got to understand how important relationships are to anything that we want to build collectively. And relationships make the world go round. Everything is a relationship. Humans to humans, humans relating to nature, the way we relate to our health and our bodies. the way we relate um, to money and finance, and all of these relating ships are governed by our self identity and our premise of thought of how we see the world and our viewpoints and how we function with one another and with the aspects of life. So having a toxic relationship means you having a dysfunctional relationship when you are not functioning in a way that you can make continuous progress and growth as a community or as a family or as a nation, because the people involved, their perspective of relationships is ego-centered or is limited to the ego perception of one's identity or their ego's preferences, which is a very limited perception of reality and a limited perception of others. All right. But I mean, I'll pause there, and if anyone wants to add on.
Now I was just saying, just basically like, you know, building a strong team. How do you build a strong team without having relationships? How do you build any organizations? So, I mean, let's be real. Like, even dealing with our years, and I've known you for what 28 years, 28 years, and we have done things with building, different organizations. So, with Soul Vibers Nation in specific, and healthy relationships is not easy when it
Not,
comes to organizing. And oftentimes we talk about that, it oftentimes leads to people being hurt and a lot of hurt. I know. I mean, to be honest, man, dealing with even with Survivors Nation, man, I had a lot of hurt and pain that come from trying to build those relationships. Because man, oftentimes we have the best intent, but then we wind up going at it. We wind up going at it, in the midst of trying to, look what we talking about, of
mm-hmm,
trying to build some of the best things. We talking about building, buying buildings and doing this and doing that, different structures. But I mean, but we wind up going at it, and we have gone at it through the years. I mean, now when you on any team, you're gonna go at it with people, but it's the ability to be able to bounce back, and that's something that's a real thing in healthy relationships. It's like you're gonna go at it with people, you're gonna have your words, you're gonna have all of that going on, but can you bounce back at the end of the day? Can you bounce back after you have that exchange? You know,
that's right.
look at a football team or whatever when they out there, you know what I mean, and they may have some words or whatever, but at the end of the day, can you bounce back? Like, no, man, my bad, man. I was just in the moment, and you know what I mean, and you dropped the ball, and then I just got, but no, we got to get up and let's go, because if you're not functioning as a team, you don't win if
Right.
you're not functioning as a team. So you have to have teamwork. Teamwork, like I said, make the dream work. We got to be functioning as a team and as a unit. So you see
Mhm.
a lot of people at this point are even scared to get in relationships. And like you said, we're not talking about romantic relationships. We talking about even the joint
Mm-hmm,
organizations at this time, especially a lot of older people, because they've been in so many different organizations or relationships, and it's been some hurt and pain there. So they just like, you know what? I'm just going, just do my thing. I'm going to
mm-hmm,
contribute, but I can't be in a relationship like that no more. Just like if
right.
people are in romantic relationships, some people have given up on those because
Right.
they're like, man, I'm just going to kind of like, date and just do this right here, So but the same thing for people getting inside of organizations because they've been
Mhm.
hurt, you know.
I wanted to share, I think at the root of all types of relationships and the issues is knowing how to show respect. A respect is the cornerstone of any type of relationship, whether it's like a business one,
Mm-hmm,
romantic one, even the child and a parent. It is respect. And I think that oftentimes we are looking to say, just because I'm showing up in who I am, you're supposed to respect me. And we should respect every human being in a loving way. But how are we actually showcasing that respect back to them? And the second part is judgment. I think we judge people a little too harshly. Um, and we need to not judge, but try to understand through our own pain. But I'll share a little more later. But respect, respect,
Right.
respect. I can't say that enough. And I think
Hmm.
that we are sometimes very arrogant in the way that we may feel or think about something, whether it's love, the relationship, family, a business, a movement. We don't respect enough, I feel, of the individual. And I'm not even talking about gender based type of respect. I respect you as a man, I respect you as a woman. That's important. But do we respect each other as intelligent, soulful beings? We need to start there.
Yeah, and we have to respect the space that we occupy. Definition of respect that I like to use is to acknowledge the height, weight, and depth of a person, place, or thing, or situation or circumstance. Height being the importance and significance, the weight being the power and impact, and the depth being the unique characteristics. Do we acknowledge that, and appreciate that from everyone that we encounter? Because
Mm,
everyone here, we everyone has has weight, height, and depth. So that should be acknowledged. I'm not just going, if you standing in a particular space, I'm not going to just walk through you like you don't exist there. I got to respect the space that you occupy. And then if I try to walk through you, rightfully so, you're going to show some resistance. So you're going to make me feel your weight, your power and impact. And you're
mm,
going to make me feel your make me recognize your height, your power, your significance and importance.
mm. Can
You
I?
know?
Can I? Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
go ahead.
definitely. I wanted to add to that in the sense that for me, I defined it as I respect myself, I respect you. And I think that sometimes because people have felt that they have been disrespected for so many years or so many um experiences, that in order for them to feel as though they are showing up in a nice and respectable energy, that they
Mhm.
have to dominate the other person, and they're still not respecting their authentic self because
Mhm.
they're still sitting in a victim seat. So if I'm showing up like I respect myself enough to say this and say that and da, 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 yes, be authentic, share who you actually are, but you also, it's a certain way, like you don't have to necessarily dominate or bully the other person to gain that respect or to create the relationship that you want. And I think a lot of times there's always this argument about who's leading. And this is not even just with male and female partnerships. This shows up in different areas. So respect, leadership begins with self. Because once we are able to lead ourselves and to respect ourselves, we will see less arguments and debates about who's in charge because we will understand an ebb and flow where there's not going to be too much need to argue of who's on top or who's running this, who's running that. And that goes, like I said, beyond just male and female, in my opinion.
Right, right. But when it comes to like even structures for organizations now, there is a time where where some people are on top. You know what I mean? Some people running the show, and then some people are not. You know what I mean? So I mean sometimes it's, and I think a lot of times people have a problem with that. You know what I mean? With people being in leadership and those that's not in leadership. I mean everybody is not meant to lead. You know what I mean? But there is the leadership issue, and some people just like, nah, you know what I mean? Like I ain't I'm not being subordinate to another person or whatever. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
there is a rank and file that happens. I think even through organization, through business, do family structures, do the family structure. I mean, I'm big on, like, even when it comes to grandmamas and granddads, to aunts and uncles, and then to like a lot of the new generation. What I mean, they feel like they be on the same level as, what I mean, as the other folk when they get to a certain age. But to me, it's always still a rank and file that you still have to,
Mm.
that you have to follow. Like, I always, as cool as I've been with my uncles, what I mean, and one of my uncles in particular, always kept in perspective. We talk trash and joke and laugh, but when he said, "Hey, look, let me tell you something," I always knew that, what I mean, that I was following in his footsteps, and I was going to be respectful. Not that I may agree with him all the time, but respectful when he gave me that order. Like, "Hey, look, you stand down, man. You know what I mean? Take some time out to do this, or take some time to do that." Or grandma and granddad. I was never one of those people who, me be running my mouth back and forth to grandma, and grandma. Grandma pretty much said what she said. I still I ain't agree with all of it, but I ain't do a lot of running my mouth back and forth with grandma, because I knew that there was respect and there was structure. So I think a lot of times too, what I'm saying, like, we get off because we don't want to have structure. And structure is, we're gonna need structure in order to build strong
Mm-hmm.
families and strong communities, which leads to strong nations, because there has to be structure. But and people running around like renegades, like, look, I ain't subordinate to no, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have that structure.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
what you're saying, and that is important. But a wise leader understands that he has a team, and he honors everyone on his team and listens to what they have to share, and does not feel that he or she is the final say so, because in order to lead, you have to have a team.
All right.
And yeah, so that's my thoughts.
All right.
What?
So, I don't want this to become a conversation about leadership, although that's part of, a
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to look at what Dr. Dennis Osar Winkler said. Unresolved traumas lead to an inability to relate with others. He said he did a presentation on this yesterday morning, and he said this trauma includes individual and collective traumas. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and this brings to mind a presentation I did on racism, and how that, historical trauma is also something that needs to be taken into consideration, that affects the collective um, ability for people to function together. Now, when we look at our historical traumas and current traumas on a social level that we've constantly experienced, let's take, for instance, the civil rights and Black Power organizations that we've had, in the assassination of leaders and the dismantling of movements, by the government and by just some of our own internal dysfunction. When these things happen, it kills hope and dreams that people have put their hearts into, and it can be very traumatizing. And what it can be, if it's not healed, it could pass on to other generations as discouragement from working together
Mm-hmm.
as a people, not wanting to respect rank and file, not wanting to respect leadership, because there's a lack of understanding of the trauma that has been experienced. And so now many of us lose hope that, we can't have community, we can't have nationhood, because we don't even like each other, you know. And then looking at the likes and dislikes as a premise or a reason to not be able to work together, because you're identifying with your personality and your limited personal self.
Mm-hmm.
And so then there's a part of, functional relationships that has to include you learning how to identify with who you really are beyond the personality, and understand that when you're traumatized, what aspect of you is traumatized. And there's a part of you that some call the divine self, or the God in self, or the true you, that is not traumatized at all and is not affected by what happens in this life or in the world. And if we
Mm-hmm.
learn how to identify with that part of our being and then begin to transfer that perception into other aspects of our life experience, then we will have a greater ability to navigate these traumas and to be able to get out of the fight, flight, freeze, and feed behaviors that are triggered when the traumas are triggered and activated. And so I'm glad brother brought up the point about these traumas because
Hold on,
as a kid,
you leak.
huh?
Simi, can I say something real quick before you read that? Um, I did
Oh,
put
no,
the
I wasn't
link
about
up.
to read that yet.
Okay. No, I said I did put the
Go ahead.
link up. You know what I mean, for people. If people wanted to join in and join the discussion, we do have the link where you could come in the room with us right now. So I did put the link up on several different platforms that you could click the link and we can let you come in and give your opinion of what on the topic.
Indeed, indeed. Especially if you got a long comment like Domino Blue. Shout out to you
Mm-hmm.
though.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
Domino. Yeah.
right.
um, but yeah, I'll go on and read that comment as well. Domino Blue says, I think we need to address our mental health and understand that our maladjustment to survive our circumstances, though it has served us to a degree, it is not our culture. We have lost respect along this journey in many ways. It's not soft or weak like I feel a lot of our people think. There's also the factor where the younger generation doesn't see the generation before as leaders necessarily because of past trauma. So there needs to be a building of mutual respect.
Amen.
Indeed.
I
Indeed.
concur 120%.
Now, how
Can
do
I?
we begin to build that respect?
Well, for one, I would definitely say that we need to start listening to the youth and not saying because I'm an adult, because I'm your mother, I'm your auntie, I'm your this, I'm an elder, so you listen to me and that's that. Um there should be an hierarchy, but eldership does not always mean wisdom. Every elder is not wise.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know, elders have a vantage point of certain things that the youth do not have. And of course, I'm not talking about all elders. Okay. So this is not all elders, but we need to be honest that some elders do not have wisdom or they don't share it, and they have not been the best caregivers, so therefore their children and their grandchildren do not trust them. So I think owning up to our own past trauma and our own missteps are a great way to start building the type of respect that we want so much.
right, but I think that social media and other platforms breed and the stuff that they listen to and they watch breeds the disrespect that they do have for the elders. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times they don't. I mean, a lot of the youth. Yeah, I mean, we need to listen to the youth, of course. We need to listen to them, but at the same time, they need to understand the respect because because when you start arguing, you start arguing about these Eurocentric views and different things that they have that they trying to present to you, and you trying to put them on point. Like, wait a minute, no, that's not how that go. You know, like you don't just. I mean, honestly, with children, we raise these children up. We save their lives. You know what I mean? Like many different times, stop them from eating this and rolling down the street and all that kind of stuff. And at some point, we give our whole lives to our children, to our young people, and at some point, there comes a time when you got to get back. You got to get back as a young child that's coming up. When you get to the point where you could take the trash out, yeah, it's time for you to start taking that trash out to start giving back because we put so much into you. And then when you get to the point where you know what I mean, you start to even start to be able to gain resources, you got to start to give back to that family too. But it still has to be done in a respectable manner, in a respectable way. But when they start watching these TV shows and Instagram and TikTok and all this other stuff, which breeds the disrespect that we actually have out in our community. But I agree. I mean, listen to them. You know what I'm saying? But you can get wisdom from a lot of different people. Even a drunk, an alcoholic, you know what I mean, or whatever, can give you a lot of wisdom and knowledge and information. But there are some elders who just use the elder card and just be like, I'm an elder and I'm older than you, and who may be talking about some wrong, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or get out here and sell these drugs, or get out here and do this and do that,
Exactly.
who teaching
So,
people to do
mm-hmm.
wrong. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean? But when a lot of us who've been through stuff like, look, man, you don't want to have a child right now in your life. You know what I mean? What you want to do is focus on your career, and you want to do this and you want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's great wisdom and knowledge that a lot of us share. But a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people, want to look past a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and definitely, I'm not saying that the youth should just be running around saying whatever, but I know, and I'll just share this from my experience with raising my son. I made sure that I spoke to him in such a way from the jump that was not making him feel small or think that he's small. I think that we have a bad coding from slavery, that we feel that the only way to get someone to respect us is to dominate them or humiliate them or put them in a certain place. And I think that we use that as a tool for 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 a parenting that can be dangerous, because, as you said, children have access to all types of videos, sources to counter us. And I know a lot of parents are, I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. I really think that we need to rethink that, because our children need to understand that we can be trusted, that the elders can be trusted to not just tell them what to do because they know, but I want you to do this because I care. I want you to do this because what I've gone through. And I think that some of us do that, but we don't do it from a heart space, but an arrogance, I'm over you space. And it's still
Yep.
perpetuating that slavery energy that helped to dominate
And
the enslaved. Go ahead.
and that stems from a lack of respect
Again,
that
yeah.
the parents or older generations may have for the younger ones. See, we have to have a healthy perspective that becomes functional. Like, what helps me to respect children and younger people, and I'm not saying I was always successful at at showing this respect that I'm
Mm-hmm.
about to speak on, but it's just acknowledging and understanding who they really are. Meaning, from the spiritual eternal level, we are equals. On the
Mm-hmm.
social level, as far as the family structure, community, we may not be equal in authority as far as the pecking order or the rank and file. But we got to understand that these are divine beings, or as some people say, ancestors reborn. So they're eternal soul. And they come here. We before my children got here, we agreed that they would be my children and I would be their father.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were on the soul plane, they were aware of, you know, who they were choosing for their mother and father,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could take this walk. But these children are not my possession. Okay. It's a partnership that we form, and I have a role to play as their father this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I have to always respect them, because if I know that I'm striving to be wise and I have a purpose of being on this planet to grow and to learn, then the very beings that are going to be born to me are going to help me achieve that purpose and function.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, our lessons also come through our children. And
Yeah.
so,
Right.
when we have children, especially at a young age, being a parent is a process of us growing up through raising children,
Mm-hmm.
but becoming more mature and more wise through the experience of parenting. So we should always respect and honor and value our children and understand that they have an innate wisdom as well. And we don't have to dictate everything that they need to think, but we present them with wisdom. We present them with options of choices and what we think may be wiser choices. And we
Mm-hmm.
help to navigate the environment so that, they can have a habit of choosing wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
One of the
oh, I was
I-
gonna say I definitely agree with well, no, I don't agree with a lot. I mean, with everything that's been said. I mean, I think that I'm more from the old school thoughts of things. So, like there was a guy and there's a video going around, and I don't know if it was on TikTok or Instagram, but a guy who had been, involved in a lot of trouble, and he was just saying that he was talking about uh how his father would discipline him, different things, and then he was saying how the mom would like, she didn't like the form of discipline. He said, well, look, when they get locked up, when they do this, when they do that, don't come to me talking about this. And the guy was saying in a comment that he did everything that his father said that he would do, but once, she started to come in and kind of messing in between that, the discipline that they wound up getting in every trouble that the father was talking about. So I mean, it's like a new age kind of thing that people got, with this whole thing. But I think, what I'm saying, the whole thing with, men see, and this is a conversation because we talk about this all the time. Of course, we talk about this in the barbershop a lot. Where like there has to be a certain sternness. I mean, that a lot of people don't want to have in the days times. So I mean, I hear what
I
you're saying, but I'm more old school. From what my granddad and my
so
and some of my people that I watch, and they did a great job coming up because I think at some point we need that discipline and we need that structure. I understand. I understand listening to the children and listen to what they're saying. But we have
mhm.
to lay out that structure, and it has to be firm.
Well, can I add that I
Sure.
honor everything you said. And what I will say is one
But
of the no, no, no buts, no buts, no buts. What I will share is that my son, one of the things that I would tell him about being out and being an honorable person of society, right? I would not put on the banner of you are representing me and your father and the family. The first things that I would say would be you are representing yourself. Who do you want to be seen as in this world? As a member of this family, as my son, as your father's son. Because what we're also doing to me is creating a codependency on being validated by others. Now, I'm going to caveat that to say that in saying that, you don't just say it, but you also show the child and you give them examples and opportunities because you want your child to be able to think for themselves when you're not around. It's very crucial that you give your child a sense of identity and individual power that is connected to family, because there's going to be times when they're going to be by themselves. They're going to be in certain areas or spaces or places where all they have is who they are. And I think that we get very again, it's to me that slave energy of fear. And fear, every child is not fearful, they are going to rebel. So you have to start speaking to their intellect. at a very early age to think about who they are as a person, as a part of the family.
But
And
I'll
yeah,
oh.
go
No, I
ahead.
said but I'll tell you that, one of the reasons why, now we talked about this last week, that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do a lot of the things that I wanted to do in the community, why I didn't become a drug dealer like on that level. You know what I mean? I'm not that
Mm-hmm.
I was a drug dealer at all, but why I never became a drug dealer. I wanted to sell drugs. I wanted to sell drugs. I wanted to do all of that stuff. But one
Mm-hmm.
of the reasons why I didn't, because I knew and I valued my family and I valued my mother. You know what I'm saying? And whenever I thought about really getting in deep, I was like, nah, I can't do this to my family. I can't do this to my mother. I can't do this to her. You know what I'm saying? So I had,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was an individual, what I'm saying is that I knew that I belonged to something that was bigger than me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that meant something. And I knew that if I went out and I did something that was really crazy, I always had to think in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, like, whoa, I'm Larry's son. I'm Mama Mayat's, what I mean, Mama China's son. And you know what I mean, I belong to my grandma, with my grandmother and grandfather. Even though I did stuff, we all did stuff. But when it
Mm-hmm.
came to sometime doing the extreme stuff, it was that thought that I belonged to a collective that stopped me from doing that, doing those different things, because I
Oh,
knew that I would embarrass my, what I mean, that I would embarrass my bloodline.
oh no, I'm not,
What are you
I'm
doing?
not saying, let me just clarify. I'm not
Right,
saying to toss that out. That's not what I'm
right,
saying. I'm not saying that at all, because my son, of course, knew Kenda. People, I would tell him, people know me and they know you are my son. His father, God rest his soul, was an officer of the law. So my son had already had an idea about he can move with so many type of ways without somebody noticing, or possibly getting caught up in stuff. So, but I always wanted him to have a sense of self value, is what I think I'm really
let's
emphasizing. Go ahead, babe.
let's let's make sure, or try not to, like, when a person says something
Mm-hmm.
from a view or perspective, that means that they're disagreeing or discrediting
Right.
the other person's view or perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Respect, respecting our children does not mean a lack of sternness,
Mm-hmm.
discipline, and structure.
Right.
From my understanding, not being a lazy parent and taking the energy that it requires to be consistent, to set up structure and discipline, is respecting the child, because you're respecting the fact that they're going to become an adult and they're going to want to be a functional adult. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's certain things that they need for their health and well-being, for the development of their soul, as a child. And so a lot of times people do lazy parenting. And as a result of the years of lazy parenting, when the children start behaving a certain way, then they want to use the force,
Mm-hmm.
or the harsh words and the
Mm-hmm.
things to try to get them in line. And so then it becomes a disrespectful type of situation, because they didn't have respect of the holistic aspect of the child as a holistic being from the
Mm-hmm.
very beginning.
Right.
So communicating with a child, and respecting the fact that they are very capable of understanding. When my children, from when they were toddlers, we would take, every time, and I'm not even exaggerating, we would take all five of our children out to eat at a restaurant or in public anywhere. People would always
Mm-hmm.
come up to us on how well behaved and disciplined our children was. Because you see other children, they're saying they's wilding out all over the restaurant or whatever public place, acting all crazy, and our children are sitting there quietly eating.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
that is not the function of children that are in fear
Right.
and being disrespected, but it is a function of them respecting our authority, but not as, you listen to what I say because I'm your parent, but it's a function of, from the very beginning, we've had expectations and we
Mm-hmm.
interacted with them with a high level of expectation, to where at 2 or 3 years old, our twins were meditating. Around three or
Mm-hmm.
4 years old, the other children, they were meditating. They would sit down long enough and be able to meditate. And that has a lot to do with them being breastfed and the type of food we were giving them and what we weren't giving them, and also the spiritual and cultural upbringing and the environments we were putting them in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Can
so
I,
these things lay foundations for the relationship, for the proper bonds and the connections. Now, I'm not saying that we were perfect parents and our children, all turned out to be, perfect, but they're beautiful people, they're great people,
mm-hmm.
and we have a healthy way of communicating.
Mm-hmm.
But that started from the very beginning,
Right.
you
I
know.
wanted. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify that that I'm not their mother. He had a first wife, and the children are beautiful, and they did a great job co 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 parenting. So I just wanted to get that clarity out to make
Yeah.
sure everyone knows.
I see, brother Assad. You can click the link. You can join in. You can join in, bro. You said there's a difference between a tyrant. I'm sorry, I missed this thing. What was it? A tyrant and a
in a
wait.
in providing structure.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
and providing structure. Yeah. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
wanted to.
click in or even Kamal. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can we did put the link up.
Yeah. Now, even though Simbi and I did not raise children together, we had similar models actually. And again, I cannot emphasize enough of really talking to your children and giving them a sense of self at an early age. Yes, you are a part of a powerful legacy, a powerful family. Yes, the community is looking at you, but giving children identity so that they can feel that they are a vibrant aspect of the community with guidance, of course. I think we're all kind of saying similar things, but we're looking at it from different angles of how to do it. My son as well, there was no timeout. There was, you have to meditate. We got to the point where my son understood that when he was getting hyper or he was getting angry, he would sit and he would meditate. He would sit on top of the roof and meditate sometimes. And it wasn't about anything other than him having a strong sense of self. And I think that community and having a strong sense of self that is anchored in community, nothing is wrong with that.
Okay.
Domino, you need to join because you're sharing some dope thoughts. It is a lot. Why don't you hit that link? We'll post it again.
Post the link. Post the link. Yeah, I think it's I think it's a great discussion. This discussion goes on all the time because when you talk about building a family, an organization, or a community, there is structure that got to go there, and you can't build without it.
And
Structure helps
respect.
to structure helps to guide the way, you know what I mean, the mannerism of the community, and those different things. So because what we got going on today in our community is a mess. And like I said, when I look at what how where we come from, and I look from the old school, and what I mean, from a lot, not to say that it was perfect, not to say that it was perfect, but there was structure there. And I look at my great uncles, and I look at my what I mean, and cousins and my family, and the way they did, even down to just regular gatherings that we would have, and the way that they would have the gatherings back in the day, and now are different, because a lot of times we don't even have the gatherings the same way that we used to have them when the elders were there, because they were kind. They knew that when somebody gave you a ride somewhere, and not to say, I'm not telling people that you got to do this, you know what I mean, that you offer a donation, you know what I'm saying, like, hey, look, let me give you something for the ride. It was different. When somebody would pass away, they knew to bring a cake or some macaroni and you know what I'm saying, and different things. A lot of our young people coming up, they don't have that same dedication and all, because I think that this generation, we fell asleep and started getting to this new parenting idea. And and a lot of them don't have what we had back in the day. And we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that.
Mm.
That's
I, I,
that's
I,
part of the problem that's going on in our community.
I think you have a point. I I agree that I have seen that happen, but I think by and large, Gen X got tired. That's Gen X. A lot of people in the Gen X, we got tired because a lot of us were latchkey kids. We were cooking dinners, opening up doors, babysitting siblings, checking homework at 7, 8, 9, and 10. Not all of us, but we also have to acknowledge that Gen X was raising kids and taking care of households to different levels that some children were not ready to handle. So, of course, by the time they got older and they became parents, they they got tired. When we talk about home life, relationships, we've got to acknowledge the good things that happen in the past, as well as some of the things that we need to honor and understand. But we can't just act like forget about it, because that's again pushing down unresolved trauma.
Right. Because one thing we have to take in consideration is the world, people in the world are changing and evolving, and there's a certain awakening going on where
Mm-hmm.
people are no longer settling for the old structures and the old traditions, mindlessly just following without it being connected to some type of understanding that makes sense to them. Maybe in the previous generations, it was easier to dictate certain things to people. I guess if you in a constant state of survival, then
Mm-hmm.
you got to come together, with those who are going to help you to survive. And in those cases, it might have been, the authorities in your family, the males, etc. But with the way that the society has changed, it's giving people a lot of time to consider, what is the reasons for the way that we've been functioning as
Mm-hmm.
family in these family structures and traditions. Whereas, you know, it might be a tradition in the past to assign, some young people who their spouses would be. The parents or the older people will tell them who they will be marrying. But
Mm-hmm.
if that structure that made that system able to function is not in place, then someone tries to do something like that, you're going to have more rebellion. And there's also a spiritual consciousness expansion going on where people don't want to fit in those old boxes. And so we have to also understand that there's some very intelligent beings coming to this planet who asking questions and not just going to follow just because.
But
And
Mm-hmm.
they
that's why
following
we have
something.
to discuss. Yeah, some of them do, but they follow something where it's going to make them feel free in what they want to do.
Yeah, but
But
that's
but
they following they following the other they following the culture. They following popular culture, which is destructive to our better, and betterment as a people. They following something that's wicked a lot of times. So I mean, it's one thing if we were saying that they following something that's righteous, or they following something that's good. I'm saying a lot of them are not following
Mm-hmm.
something that's righteous. So I mean, and I think we
but
got
I'm not saying they are following something that's righteous.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is they're going to ask questions and stuff that don't make sense. They're just not going to follow mindlessly if
Right.
it don't make sense to them. Now, yeah, there's that element that they're going to be influenced by their peers or that thing that is popular culture as opposed to maybe something that their parents at home are saying. But that's why you got to be able to explain some things that make
Right.
sense to them. You got to have
Mm-hmm.
some type of wisdom and go beyond. Well, because I said so, or because it's just wrong, or because it's just right.
I
No.
That
think people do
that
more
that don't
explaining. I mean, I think people say because I said so, but I think they do a lot of explaining. No, you can't have this can. You know, what I mean, you should not eat this candy because your teeth gonna fall out. I'm just telling you what I know. If you eat
You
this candy, if you eat too much of this candy, your teeth are going to fall out. I know because mine
food.
fell. Because mine fell out.
Mhm.
You know,
Food
if
is
you
one thing.
yeah, I'm no, I'm just saying food and lessons. You know, no, you don't want to be out there. You don't want to have you don't want to be out there, pimping or whatever because you're gonna get some people pregnant. And if you get some people pregnant, then you're gonna have what's called I hate to say baby mamas, you know what I mean? And which leads to baby mama drama, which leads to child support. And that's why you got some young people, even young men that's out there right now that like got 2 or 3 baby mamas and they are like 20 something years old already behind because they paying child support right now. I'm just saying, but when you got people that say, hey, look, you gotta, you know, I mean, you gotta handle yourself in a different way. You gotta handle yourself in a different manner. You know, I mean, so there is a lot of wisdom coming down from the elders, but we are competing against Instagram, TikTok, and the machine that's actually pushing our people a certain way. They want us to be undisciplined. They
so we
want us
gonna
to go. They
complain.
want us to
We
go
gonna
against our parents. They want us to go against, and that's why we in a situation that we find ourselves in today because there's a machine that's pushing this agenda.
right. So I agree with that. So are we? But we complaining about the symptom. Now, but what we trying to relay here is let's understand what a solution could be to
Right.
resolving a symptom, and that's creating a culture that a different interaction, a different level of interaction. Things. I mean, we can't romanticize the past like everything was all good in generations prior to this one. We had
Correct.
some dysfunction going on. We had
Mm-hmm.
some traumas being created by families that still are created that are
Mm-hmm.
unresolved constantly. And these things get passed on from generation. So we can adopt some things that we feel worked in the past, but then some things need to be innovated. And we can call it new age and all that, but I think that phrase tries to diminish, the
Correct.
value of trying to have some type of new thought and new way of looking at things to be more effective. That's what this is about. Just because like African culture was practiced, quote unquote, or even previous generations did things traditionally, you're not going against the ancestors if you try to do something different because you think it may be more effective. And so just because they did it a certain way back then, don't mean we need to follow that if it's not going to work now. We can create new African culture based
Mm-hmm.
on the current situation and dealing with certain principles that we will find will be successful.
I'm just saying that you got people who went out of their way to make sure that they disrespect our culture and that they disrespect certain things. But let me move forward. We got brother Dr. Asar in the building, and
Hey.
and I guess this brother
Peace,
had a
bro.
busy day yesterday. Then you had like 5 presentations yesterday, bro. You started like in the morning down to the night. You didn't get it. You just probably got in just now. You had like a paradox day, man. You know what I mean? You was lecturing
Yeah,
through the night, everything.
I'm recovering. I'm recovering. Yeah, yeah. You called me out to come on this camera, huh?
Yeah. Man, go ahead. What you got to add to this? Man, Doctor Saw. I mean, that's my brother, but we talk all the time. We talk, we agree, and then we disagree. We'll debate on the phone for we go back and forth too. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, end of the day is love. But that's what it is. But what you got to add to the conversation, bro?
Yeah, I think the conversation. Peace, family. How y'all doing?
Peace.
Peace.
Blessings.
Peace to the audience. I think this conversation that we're having is a real conversation that is needed. But I think the conversation that we're having is also on a surface level. I'm not saying the
Mm.
conversation is surface. What I mean is that it's a loaded conversation. I'm hearing Brother Jabari say lots of things, right? And those lots of things are real. Like he mentioned, like sometimes there's this passive approach to parenting. So it's lots of things that we're talking about all at once, right?
Mhm.
And I think that everybody's kind of has some has great points, and I tend to lean towards the side. I'm not even making sides here, but you find where I'm going. I'm in the new age, the new age part, right?
Yeah.
but what you call a new age. But what I'm saying is this. I think what's being said is okay. We parent out of fear many times.
Mm.
So because we're parenting out of fear, what happens is we become overly restrictive, overly protective, overly tyrannical. Like we want the best, but what we're doing is we're harming, hurting, and traumatizing people at the same time.
Mm.
We're shoving things down people's throats, and it doesn't work, and it hasn't worked. I don't care. It hasn't worked. Let's say that it has not worked, because the same people on the corner who say, "Look, when we was back in the day, they on the corner drinking and sipping and dripping and dipping and bipping, but they
Mhm.
telling you we used to get our ass whippings." Excuse my language. They say all these things, and I'm not judging them, but what I'm saying is it never worked. It causes trauma. There's a sister named and she's at Morgan. She's a research professor, and I can't think of her name right now, but her name is like Stacy or whatever. She has a whole book on this whole and we're not talking about corporal. What is it? Not corporal punishment. What is it called when you beat your children? Is that corporal punishment?
That's
What is it
corporal
called?
punishment.
Yeah,
Oh
it's corporal.
yeah, corporal punishment and all these things, right? But okay, let me just back up a little bit and slow down. So this fear-based parenting is coming from a good place, but it's not working. This and I think that Brother Jabari is correct, and I think everybody would agree that culture is important, right?
Mhm.
Because some of the little things he said wasn't necessarily ancient African culture. It was like culture that African Americans created. Like, look, do this at a funeral. Respect your elders like this. But at the same time, a lot of us are also traumatized by these very elders. Hence, it makes it difficult for us to trust them, as Sister Kenda said earlier, and we can't ignore that. And then what we have to do is find a way to speak to everybody, because everybody's triggered. Everybody's kind of traumatized, or not everybody's traumatized, but everybody's trying to deal with these traumas. And it's very difficult because we're all becoming triggered and we can't have conversation because we're dealing with things that we're not talking about. We're dealing with this with poor parenting or the relationship struggles where I'm hearing from Jabari, like sometimes there is a very passive mother, many times, I'm just gonna be honest, especially when it's not your child or you're not rearing children in the same house, that says, that don't you touch my children, and don't you do this, don't you do that. And then the father is doing the old school thing, and he want to give ASS whippings, right? And he want to be
Mhm.
heavy-handed. And then what happens is now the children see this disagreement, and now they're playing everybody. So now,
Mhm.
so it's a
Mhm.
lot. And I'm saying I'm hearing a lot in this conversation. I don't think we're all talking about the same thing at the same time. So I think maybe dissecting these pieces and really fleshing them out will be very beneficial, because it's like when you come, like, as a therapist, the goal is to kind of see what is not being said. So there's lots of things not being said. They're being touched on, but it's really
Mhm.
guiding our insight or our conversation, our points.
Right.
So I don't think it's always about disagreeing. We're just not saying what we're really saying. Peace.
Can I say this? Like, I hear what you're saying. Like, some of those guys that's out in the corner and they may be sniffing, they may be alcoholics that's out there. You know what I mean? But I would say this: a lot of them that's out there that's on the block, parents may have passed away, parents may be gone. You know what I'm saying? And then instead of them having that structure in their life, they don't know what to didn't know what to do with themselves, and a lot of them did turn to alcohol and drugs. I'm not saying that's in every case, because you can find the same people, like people who very successful will be like, man, hey, look, when I was coming up, my mom and my daddy ain't play that. That's why, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of us, you
But
can
keep in
find people
mind,
say, all of us,
but keep
like,
it,
you know what I mean? We had 5 people in the family, all of us came out and all of us got, you know what I mean, got a work ethic, all of us did this and all that. And then you can
but keep
find
in
the other
mind, brother Jabari.
people.
I just want to only interrupt you just because, just keep in mind my
Yeah,
preface, to how I preface the conversation. I
right,
said these are the very ones that said they had that form of structure that
right.
we're speaking about, that heavy-handedness, that I used to get ass whippings. I used to, they didn't like you stay in your place, child type of conversation. You understand
Mm-hmm.
that you children are made to be seen and not heard type of conversation, right? And what happened is when your child is hurting, when you create that atmosphere, when your child is hurting, they have no one to come to.
There you go.
And, and this is happening throughout our community when your child has no one to come to. I'm saying I do counseling. I sit in rooms where children share things with me that they'll never share with their parents because their parents can't listen. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to agree to listen to your children. You understand? And that's a problem. That's a real problem in our community. And I'm not. And the problem didn't start with the people who don't listen. That's a flaw in the culture. That's not necessarily a flaw in the culture because one time it worked. It worked for a reason, and that's what trauma does. You have to survive, so you have certain ways. So it creates a culture
Mm-hmm.
of for survival. Now that is not working for us.
Hmm. Ashay.
I
Can
mean,
I?
I hear what you're saying, but
Uh,
I think it can. I think it can work. I mean, like my dad told me
What are you
once.
saying can
My
work?
wait.
children,
Ass
you know what I mean?
whoopings?
Huh?
What are you saying can work? Like what? The ass whoopings?
No, I'm talking about, you know what I mean, discipline, you know what I mean, like
I don't.
the discipline kind of thing. I mean, you know, what we talking about, I guess more extreme. I mean, because it was a
So
time in the community, it was a time in the community where a lot of our people, like our grandparents and stuff, would take people and say, hey, look, things ain't going right with you. They would send them down south somewhere, you know what I mean, so that they can get discipline, or they would take them and put them in the military. So a lot of people got cleaned up by going into the military type discipline, and they came back out and they got themselves straightened up
But
because
I
they
don't think no
needed.
one's
no, wait a minute.
disagreeing with
I don't think
discipline.
no
Because they
one's disagreeing with the discipline. I'm sorry. I
If
just
you're
wanted
just
to
saying
jump in.
discipline
no,
generally,
Can I
but
can
it's
I
how you
please?
discipline.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. I don't think that anyone is really saying, any of us on here is saying that children should just run free. Okay. I know I'm not, because my son did not run free. But one of the things that the doctor shared is very crucial. Children, which grow up to be women and men, have been raised to not be listened to. They have been conditioned to think that they have to push through their pain, and it's killing us. We have some of the highest rates of breast cancer. I'm a breast cancer survivor, other physical ailments. And this came from, as the good doctor said, from survival. Slavery times, we didn't have time to cry or to say, I don't want to do this or this hurts me. We have to survive, we have to live. As we move to Jim Crow, that same survival mentality, we cannot complain. We got to stick together, which is true. But even in those times, there were some people that were unscrupulous people within our own families and communities that have harmed children, did other heinous things, stole money from them, and all of this mistrust. Okay. So while I'm not saying that we should not come together as a community, but we have to start being honest about the pain and the trauma that we have been transferring from generation to generation on the strength of we're black people. That's one of my takes, because that permeates our children who become adults.
Can I give an example though? Like,
Sure.
you know, I used to pop my oldest son. I used to pop him upside the head when he, get out of line. And his mother would, always, she, no, at one point she was like, could you stop doing that? It's like you're being a bully. And I was unconscious of the fact that I was just doing that because that's what my dad did to me. And she asked, well, how did it feel when your dad did that to you? And I said, you know what? I didn't like that. And it damaged me and my father's relationship, whereas
Mhm.
far into adult, not just him popping me in the head, but him, you know, a lot of times acting like a bully, just, with the way he communicated to me, this authority thing and etc. To whereas I was well into my adulthood before I actually healed that. Me and him cool now, of course. But at a certain point, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be acting like a bully around here. So I stopped popping him upside the head because I woke up, I was like, nah, that's not cool, you know. And then I started looking at why do I feel I need to, put my hands on him, period. So I had to start looking at that. And it was like not long after that when, the last time I physically touched my children, um, it was my oldest son and then one of the twins. They was being real disrespectful and they was wilding out. And I got so pissed off, I started throwing people around the room. I ain't hurt nobody or nothing, but I was thrown back at how angry I got. And I went downstairs in the basement and I started crying because I said I don't want to get that angry with my children. I ain't gonna put my hands on them no more. I gotta use wisdom. And that was the last time I actually, did that physically. And then, but then as time went on, I always would check back every now and then. Look, I used to, smack y'all and do this and that. Is there anything, you feel a way about that? Because I want to know if I did any damage to y'all. I apologize, for that. And they appreciate me checking in on them with that, but the respect was still there, it was still built.
I think it's different strokes for different folks. So like I said, my father told me before, what I mean, you could beat the hell out of a child or you could beat the hell in them. You know what I mean? So it's like, what I mean, but some of them do need to be popped. I mean, what I mean, like I ain't with that, what I'm saying? Like, what I mean, like, oh yeah, I'm the bully thing, that whole bully. I mean, I hear what you're saying, what I mean, but that fit, what I'm saying? Like even coming up with me, when my uncle told me a certain thing, what I mean? Didn't I tell you get upstairs? And I'm down there doing something crazy. You need to hear that. I mean, I ain't, what I mean? Like, I mean, you need to hear it and you need to hear it in that way. And sometimes you ain't getting it, what I mean? And did I like when he popped me? No, I ain't like when he popped me, but I shouldn't have been doing what I was doing. I mean, at that time. So I mean, what I mean, so I hear what he's saying, but what I mean, but I think that and see and then we talking about from the initial thing was about building a nation and building strong families and stuff like that. But I think that a big part of it is that our children, I mean, our children, we not bringing them up with that good teaching because they're gonna have to continue this thing on, and so I just think that we got a lot of work to do. But it starts with the family structure, the man and the woman and the children. What is their role? What I mean? What is the role of the children that's coming up today?
I wanted to number one acknowledge that everyone here has something valuable to share and it adds to the healing. Number two, I want to commend my husband, Simbi, for sharing that because that's very vulnerable share. And I think that, again, as parents, we need to show our children how to take accountability for our own actions that may be disrespectful to them as a human. And I think that we have an arrogance almost that we are the parent. And for me growing up as a young woman, I got lots of spankings and lots of beatings from my mother to the point where in these modern times, she would probably be considered abusive. Okay. And that's not saying anything from towards her. I love my mother. I honor her, but I know that she parented out of fear, out of her trauma, out of her the issues and concerns that she grew up under in the South. I also know that there's been times when she has embarrassed me in front of my friends and my family to discipline me, which created a sense of self esteem issues, which exacerbated my stuttering, which also made me become very critical of who I was and created distrust in all these different issues. Now, of course, I'm not blaming her or saying that she was a horrible person. She was doing the best that she could with the tools that she had. So my role is as a parent, as an elder, is to take the good stuff of the discipline, the guidance, the wisdom, and structure it in a way so that younger adults or my child, who is now a grown man, can understand. My son, I can count on one hand the times that I had to beat him or his father. And it's not because he was this perfect child. He still did things or whatever, but we really have to get in our minds what this thing is, because humiliation type of rituals are not healthy from your parents, because these are the things that end up bleeding over into man and woman type of relationships.
I, yeah. If I could touch on one thing my dear brother Jabari said. He said that different strokes for different folks, and I think that statement is, it has some relevance. I think what happens though when we use our anecdotal experiences and we cast them wide, and what I mean by that is, yes, maybe Jabari, maybe even brother Dennis Assar Winkler, um, I got beatings growing up. I turned out okay, right? Because I didn't see it in a perspective that it was traumatizing to me. Um, it, but the research supports and shows clearly that there are differences and there are outcomes that come as a result of these spankings. I'm talking about higher levels of violence, higher levels of incarceration, higher levels of trauma. I'm talking about spankings. I'm talking about, especially the research is clear as it pertains to women getting getting hit down there and what that does to them on a physiological level. So I get it anecdotally, and I understand why one would utilize these things. But as we speak about, studying is very important. I can't think of the sister, but she's a research scientist at Morgan, and this is what she does, and this is what she does, and what she researches in the black community. Clearly, her research is I was suggesting that everyone looks at this, and
Mm-hmm.
I know we're not just talking about spanking. We're also talking about not providing space for our children to communicate,
Mm-hmm.
and what that does to a person, and what that does to people when they get older. Now some people resent that they couldn't communicate so much. Now they can't shut up, and now they want to be argumentative, and it destroys our ability to relate in relationships with our opposite partners, or partners, or what have you. Because I was told to shut up ever since I was a young child. Now I'm gonna say what I got to say,
Speak on it.
or vice versa. So what I'm saying is, we have to really look at the outcomes of the whole. You may be a resilient person, and absolutely you are. You are very resilient. We have to understand that you are a resilient brother in all the things you do. But we have to look at the community. Everybody's not Jabari. Everybody's not brother Asar. Everybody's not brother Simbi. Everybody's not sister Kenda. Everybody's not that resilient. What worked for you or me doesn't mean it works for the whole, and the research is clear that it's not. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's important for us to look at these things, because we have brothers and sisters who are doing the work on our behalf, and we bring that to the table. But I do understand it. Stacy Patton, thank you, Baba.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was trying to get Bob Emotep to join in. I don't know if he
Yes,
got the
please
link.
come on in.
I don't know if he got the link. I tried to put the link, but it said I can't share the link to his page. But the link is in the it's in this it's in this
Wait,
chat, right?
yeah, let me see if I can copy it and send it. I think I'm friends
When I
with that
tried to go to
person.
his when I
I
tried
just
to
put it in the YouTube chat, so it should pop up, shouldn't it?
is that where he was talking from YouTube?
I posted
I
it
don't
in
know.
the chat, and it should show up in both places. But I'll see if he's
Yeah,
on
it's in
my
the,
my friends list, and I'll send it to him. I'm
it's on
sorry.
the Facebook chat. It looked like.
Can you get? He just posted again. Her book is Spare the Kids. Um, did you did you want to come in for a second, Bob Emotep? Love to hear what you had to say on this topic right quick. I know we running over time. I know, but I would definitely love to hear what you had to say on this topic. Yeah, man, because we talk about this stuff all the time. This is a regular topic, so we always talking about this in the barbershop. And
Mm,
it's a big topic, and a lot of times it's a lot, it's mostly brothers. I mean, there's some sisters in there, but it's mostly brothers in there that's expressing this because of course it's the barbershop, so
mm-hmm.
I mean, so we get it from that perspective. So I mean, so a lot of times, a lot of times the way that a lot of the brothers feel, I'm just speaking in the barbershop, feel that, as they try to get control of their children and different things, that a lot of the women run interference in the midst of that. They run interference, and it causes, I mean, and it
Mm,
causes destruction, as our brother, Dr. Assar said.
mm.
They children start to play the parents against each other. They start to play
Yeah.
the parents because then there's one that's like very stern, like, nah, you ain't doing this. And then, what I mean, and then one of them say, no, it's okay that you could do this. And then there's this conflict, what I mean?
Mm,
And a lot of times the brothers feel like they being overstepped. And so a lot of
mm.
times what happens is the brothers step away. What I mean?
No,
They wind up stepping away, and they're like, you know what? I've been trying to do this. I've been trying to make this happen, but you know what? You go ahead and do it. And when it happens, don't come back to me. What I mean? And that's a lot of the general conversation. I could say throughout the years, that is what a lot of brothers come up with. They get so frustrated in trying to be there and trying to, what I mean, because they start to see
so
that it needs to be some discipline there. They try to add that because they may not be with the parent, but with the other with the mom, and then they feel like it's being interfered with. Whenever they try to do something, it always gets shot down. And I'm just telling you the overall,
I say this.
and
okay.
the
So
research,
as
the
the
research
woman,
within the research within the barbershop. I'm just trying to tell you that's
oh,
laid out.
okay. So
My data, my data.
as the woman on this live, and I do not discredit anything that you are saying because that is your experience, and these are the experience of a lot of parents in general, male and female. Now, my son's father and I we co co parented in two separate homes. Okay, we were together for a certain amount of time. It did not work out, so we decided to co-parent. Now, there were times when I felt his father was a little heavy-handed, etc., etc. I think that happens whether you are in the same house or in separate households. So let's not say just because you're not married that this is why these things happen. The second aspect of that is that there is a level of emotional trust that the parents have not created. And when I say that, it's not always that romantic, I trust you as my man or whatever, but it stems from that because if they don't think, how can I say this? My son's father and I had issues, but one thing that I was very clear on was that he loved his son. And I think that oftentimes we transpose the mistreatment or our thoughts about the primary type of relationship in between the mother and the father, and we carry that into the way that we parent our children. It's not about because I said so or he's acting this way because you're not letting me. There should be no excuse for two adults, and not just the man, but the woman and the father, to not get together to be able to agree on certain things. I think the idea of having a unilateral power structure over a child, be it the mother or the father, is imbalanced because that child is both of you all. And I think we don't trust the other person to take care of our child based upon our trauma the
Yeah.
of the relationship. And I don't think we talk about that enough because the child becomes a pawn to fight.
I mean, I agree with what Jabari was saying as well as what Kendra just said. Um, so it's it's a both and. I want to address what Mark Hampton Jr. stated because I was
brother,
actually going to speak
brother
on
Mac,
this.
brother Mac, yeah,
Oh, Mac Hampton, my bad.
yeah, yeah, my
What
Mac.
role is assimilation and emulation of the European community playing in the destruction of our children and families? And I interestingly enough was going to go there before I even seen that he posted that. I think a lot of the dysfunction happens when we're isolated as individuals and individual households, and our family is not connected to some type of village or community type of cultural connection with collective families raising their children on with similar principles and values. And when we isolate ourselves and then the children go out of the home into the mainstream community, they're gonna bring back and be infected by things that they get exposed to out there. And if our culture in the house is not even um, really consistent with something that's going to counteract what they're infected by,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to get reinforced, you know. And so, if, like, for example, you have some boys, you raised some boys, or just say a boy, and they're gonna hear one thing from you as a father and as a mother, but then if they go to another family and these things get reinforced, and they have connections with other males that are their father's age that is reinforcing these principles. Then they have valuable community experiences like rites of passage experiences or whatever that is going to inculcate something inculcate some certain principles and ideas within them. So it's like we need more than just what mom and dad are saying at home.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be touched by other parts of the community and other community members to reinforce. But this European type of way, which I can't even really say is European, because when you look at some of the functional parts of even their people, they have some type of community type of thing. But this Western individualized mentality of doing it ourselves, I think, opens up more of a possibility for the toxicity to take root and flourish.
Hmm.
Let me tell. I see Demano Blue was trying to come in, but you gotta put your picture up on the screen for us to let you in there.
Yes.
Can I say before I roll?
Yeah.
The that thanks for letting me come in. And just to be clear, and I agree with everything that Brother Simi just said as far as the collective being very important and necessary. And I also just want to add on to something a little earlier, that it is, so that I can be clear, is that the research also supports that father with his level of structure and some level of sternness is very important as well. But
Mm-hmm.
there's extremes that we're talking about.
Right.
We're not talking about no structure. We're not talking about which is over passive, and that's also abuse, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're not talking about when you're talking about heavy-handedness, and that's just a metaphor in any way, physical, verbal, very authoritarian, over the top authoritarian, then that becomes abusive as well. So yeah, there is a need for structure. There in essence, in fact, the research supports and it helps in the black community to raise up children in a healthy manner, and it's that's called socialization, right? Or even when we talk about black people, when we talk about racial socialization. So it's important to do this, but as I think Brother Simi just said, we have to also think about these other variables that goes along with it. Like for example, maybe I got a beat and I'm all right, but there was also a lot. There was culture in my house. There was all types of things. So we have to look at all the variables and all the pieces, right? So not one thing is going to really affect us totally, but yeah, definitely if children feel unloved, unheard, um, disrespected. In fact, yes, I agree. They can play on that as well in the marriage, outside of the marriage, or what have you.
Mhm.
But it's important that we know, and I think that check-in, as Brother Simi did, and I did something very similar. That
Mhm.
check-in, you understand? To even make sure that my children don't think that I have two boys, two sons, two grown young men who actually I check in and say, do you feel that I appreciate you, I respect you, did I do anything differently? Because children grow up a whole lifetime thinking that one child was favored over another child and all
Mhm.
these other things that causes trauma, and it didn't have to even be real. So that's why it's important that we let them communicate and make a place, because if we don't let them communicate, traumas are created in their minds, and they couldn't articulate it because they were in fear to communicate it. Now they grew up with a pattern of thinking that thinks that their mother or father never loved them, and is furthest to the
Ooh.
furthest thing away from the truth. And that is what I
Amen.
deal with every day, trying to help people rewire the way they see their parents and what they did. Because parents treat children different according to what their needs are. And sometimes we take that as neglect. You didn't love me. And lots of times, just because I couldn't talk, I didn't have an open space to talk to you. And providing an open space doesn't mean that I have to agree with you as a parent. But I did provide that space. Even in the Who Said, it says that leaders provide, I can't quote it verbatim, but it says leaders provide a listening ear. Not everything that you say, that person say, or what have you, you can give them, but a listening ear satisfies the soul. And that's what, and I think that comes from our ancient ancestors. And I think that's right on and exact. I thank y'all for having me on.
Yeah,
Ooh,
we
I,
appreciate
I
you, brother.
appreciate that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Appreciate the insight.
just real quick, I mean, I think about the episode of the Cosby Show when Theo and Cliff was there, and he said, "Well, go ahead and express yourself." And Theo was talking, and I forgot what he was talking about, and he went on talking about all this stuff, and like, yeah, Dad, and yeah, I want to be able to do that. He's like, okay. Theo, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. When, when
Now
he
I
went
remember
on,
that. That was
you
funny.
know, what I mean, I mean,
Mm.
so look, I hear you. Listen to the young people, but I mean, I mean, listen to them, yeah. But some stuff, I mean, is
Uh,
reaching. Some stuff is, I mean, you take in consideration some of the stuff that they say, but some of that stuff some of that stuff be crazy,
But
yeah,
I mean
it
the
may
truth.
be,
you know,
but
That's
and
the
we got
truth.
but again, we are diminishing our children with that. When Baba when he shared, what came to my mind was the movie Fences. When the
we talked
young
about that
man
yesterday in the shop, yeah.
when the young man asked his father, or he said something to the effect of, "Do you love me?"
Mm.
And the father was like, I feed you, don't you? Don't I? I give you clothes, I give you shelter. So what does that mean? And again, not to bring in current subjects, but this is one of the pain points of Monique's son. The whole idea, because when I heard it, I remembered having those conversations with my mother. And to me, in my mind, that's like you feed and shelter a dog, a pet.
Mm.
Uh,
And
I
the
mean,
father said it, let me finish. And the father said it with such pain because the father knew what he had sacrificed, you understand, to be his father, without communicating, like the good doctor is imploring us to do, about where that form of love comes from. Because my mother's form of love was shelter, clean clothes, a clean house, a good stepfather, and going to work and taking care of the house. But there were certain heart space things and conversations that she didn't give room for. And again, as we're moving into a new paradigm, we're going to have to start speaking truth, not just from our mind, but from our heart. That yes, I love you because I shelter you, I buy you clothes, and da 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 da. But I have sacrificed because there were certain dreams that I may have had that I forego to have you, not to guilt you, but to understand my passion and my pain. I see you smirking at me, Jabari, whatever. But I'm just saying, our children need to understand who their parents are outside of being a parent. But that's a whole nother conversation. I just wanted
Yeah,
to
we
add
we,
thank
we
you.
we're gonna continue to have these conversations because we gotta have the conversations in order to heal. So you know what I mean. So this is this is just one of many conversations, and I know we've been on here for almost 2 hours.
I
And
see. Wow.
I know we need to get ready to shut down, but just to say to the people again, like the YouTube page, we almost at 8,000 subscribers there. You know what I mean? It ain't much, but we getting there. We're gonna keep continuing to grow. But we want to know who's coming out to be with us on Sunday, next Sunday. Who's coming out to be with us next Sunday? Come on out, family. Come on out, and we've been with y'all each and every week. And I appreciate the bills. I appreciate the energy. But come on out, man, so we can see y'all, so we can be with y'all, so we can do some drumming, so we can, so we can talk about some things and get the energy and load up for the month. Let's load up, you know what I mean, and get the spirit, build up the spirit so the spirit can be strong, definitely strong. So who's coming out with us? Don't forget the address. What's the address again? We at T-Net on Harford Road. What's the address? Can we post it?
5525.
What
I
is it?
wanted to
5525 Harford Road.
5525 Harford Road.
I wanted to add just really quick, if anyone loves this conversation that they heard, please get our course, our course called Mindful Communication. We have the link on the banner is bit.ly sacred communication. If you click on that link, you'll be led to the program, which covers a lot of what we were sharing, as well as other foundational tools that you can have to have a communication, not just with your partner, but with your children, your coworkers, and people that you value in your life. And there is a code. You just type in Maat, and you'll get $20 off of that. It is a self-paced course that you can watch and read and listen to at any time. And that is something that my husband, Symbia Cow, and I created. And it will add value and context to a lot of the things that he and I shared today. Please make sure you check that course out.
Cool. And the YouTube page again is Reality Speaks Media. Reality Speaks Media for those who's not on YouTube. All right. So we definitely appreciate y'all for joining us, and we had another good one. But we look forward to seeing y'all next week. We look forward to seeing y'all next week with us, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time, family. So, Kenda and brother Simba, you got anything else you wanted to say?
Happy relating.
Yes.
All right, family. Y'all have a great Sunday and a great week, and we will see y'all next Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m.
Peace and blessings.
Peace.
Peace.